to my channel. If you're new, welcome. My name is Akubeze and I'm a Christian content creator based in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm going to be sharing the word of the Lord with you today. It is so rich. Like, I was so blessed by this word, and I really pray that you're blessed by it, and I pray that the Holy Spirit will reveal more to you. And of course, please read the chapters by yourself. Today we are in Exodus chapters 12, 13, and 14. It's a lot, so brace yourself and please watch to the end, because trust me, I was so blessed by this word. So let me just give you the quick summary. It's all about the Passover and the Exodus, like the Israelites leaving Egypt, crossing the Red Sea, and going into the wilderness. And so, there's so much to just take out from it. So let's just get started. So it says, while the Israelites were still in the land of Egypt, the Lord gave the following instructions to Moses and Aaron. From now on, this month will be the first month of the year for you. Announce to the whole community of Israel that on the 10th day of this month, each family must choose a lamb or a young goat for a sacrifice, one animal for each household. If a family is too small to eat a whole animal, let them share with another family in the neighborhood. Divide the animal according to the size of each family and how much they can eat. The animal you select must be a 1-year-old male, either a sheep or a goat with no defects. Take special care of this chosen animal until the evening of the 14th day of this first month. Then the whole assembly of the community of Israel must slaughter their lamb or young goat at twilight. They are to take some of the blood and smear it on the sides and top of the door frames of the houses where they will eat the animal. That same night, they must roast the meat over a fire and eat it along with bitter salad greens and bread made without yeast. Don't eat any of the meat raw or boiled in water. The whole animal, including the head, legs, and internal organs, must be roasted over a fire. Do not leave any of it until the next morning. Burn whatever is not eaten before morning. These are your instructions for eating this meal. Be fully dressed, wear your sandals, and carry your walking stick in your hand. Eat the meal with urgency, for this is the Lord's Passover. At this point, I need to share that, especially while I'm in London, I really understood, let me not say like I understood, but it became realer to me that Judaism is actually like a real religion. Like, the people who practice what the Israelites were practicing, like the Israelites are the Jews, and the people who do Passover are the Jews, and they're real. Like, you see them walking around on the streets of London, you can tell the Jews, you can tell by how they dress, you can tell by how they live. And when I'm in London, I usually tend to stay in like a Jewish area, so it really hits me more. So that's part of why I titled this video, This is Real Life, because maybe when you're in Nigeria and you're just surrounded by Christians and Muslims, like, we have those two religions, like, it's very easy to neglect the fact that this thing that happened to the Israelites is actually real life. Like, all these instructions that God gave them, the Jews are still obeying them till now. The difference, Christians, is that we actually believe that Jesus was the Messiah. The Jews, they are still waiting for the Messiah. And it just blows my mind, like, reading this Passover story and reading all the detailed instructions, like, be dressed when you're eating the meal, wear your sandals and carry your walking stick in your hand. Eat the meal with urgency, for this is the Lord's Passover. It is a day to remember. Each year, from generation to generation, you must celebrate it as a special festival to the Lord. This is a law for all time. For 7 days, the bread you eat must be made without yeast. On the first day of the festival, remove every trace of yeast from your homes. No work of any kind may be done on these days except in the preparation of food. Celebrate the festival of unleavened bread, for it will remind you that I brought your forces out of the land of Egypt on this very day. This festival will be a permanent law for you. Celebrate this from generation to generation. And they are still celebrating this from generation to generation. They are still marking what God did for them by delivering them from, slavery in Egypt, by taking them out of the bondage and moving them, towards the path of the promised land. And when you understand that, when you consider that, it makes faith so much realer to you. And the truth is that even in this passage, like, there is so much that foreshadows the coming of Jesus. There is so much that we see that was signaling, what Jesus now did for us on the cross. But let me not even get into terminology that me myself I'm still trying to understand. But it clicked to me even more today while reading this passage that it is so real. This is real life. Faith is real life. Like, God is real. The deliverance is real. Like, I can't shout. Let's keep reading. So it says that, then Moses called all the elders of Israel together and said to them, go and pick out a lamb or young goat for each of your families and slaughter the Passover animal. Drain the blood into a basin, then take a bundle of hyssop branches and dip it into the blood. Brush the hyssop across the sides and top of the door frames of your house, and no one may go through the door until morning. For the Lord will pass through the land to strike down the Egyptians. When he sees the blood on top of and sides of the door frame, the Lord will pass over your home. He will not permit his death angel to enter your house and strike you down. Remember, these instructions are a permanent law for you and your descendants. You must observe them forever. When you enter the land that the Lord has promised to give you, you will continue to observe this ceremony. Then your children will ask, what does this ceremony mean? And you will reply, it is the Passover sacrifice to the Lord, for he passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt, and though he struck the Egyptians, he spared our families. And the people of Israel did as the Lord commanded. And that night, at midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn sons in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn son of Pharaoh who sat on his throne to the firstborn son of the prisoner in the dungeon. Even the firstborn of their livestock were killed. Pharaoh and all his officials and all the people of Egypt woke up during the night, and loud wailing was heard throughout the land of Egypt. There was not a single house where someone had not died. This is real life. Like, this is a real story. Google it, please, because I actually took my time to Google it. And you even see that even Egyptians acknowledge that this thing really happened. Like, an angel of death went through their land, killed their firstborn sons, and the Israelites was spared. And that was where even the reputation of the Israelites as the chosen people, even now we still talk about it as a joke, like, oh, Jews are such favored people, like they're always wealthy and stuff. And the truth is that because the covenant that God made with Abraham is still persisting till today. Like, because they did not believe in Jesus as the Messiah does not even mean that they are no longer God's chosen people. They still are, like, because somebody said, I think it was Ken who asked me to do a study on Revelation. I'm still studying it, but there's so much that is like real in the Bible. There's so much that's real in those books and explains everything. Even today, I think I had even heard this before, but today in my research, I realized again that Canaan, the promised land, is Palestine. Like, it is now what we call Palestine. And see the contest that still goes on around that land. Like, you guys, this thing is real. Anyways, let's continue. And yes, another thing I wanted to say was, like, look at what the blood did for them. And everybody acknowledges that the same way that the blood helped the angel of death pass over the Israelites, it's the same way that the blood of Jesus helps us today. It's the same way that we plead the blood covers us, the blood speaks for us, the blood speaks mercy for us, the blood makes a way for us. Like, and it's so real. It's so real. Like, I don't know how to explain that it's real to you guys, but Google it. I'm so serious. Like, okay. So Pharaoh now sent for Moses and Aaron during the night. He said, get out, or he ordered, leave my people and take the rest of the Israelites with you. Go and worship the Lord as you have requested. Take your flocks and herds as you said and be gone. Go, but bless me as you leave. He told them to bless him as he left because he finally realized that, look, your God is the real God. Like, so I even want some of that blessing too. Like, remember that this Passover is like the last of the 12 plagues that, had been sent to the Egyptians. So all the Egyptians urged the people to get out of the land as quickly as possible, for they all thought that we would die. Then the Israelites took their bread dough before the yeast was added, They wrapped their kneading boards in their cloaks and carried them on their shoulders, and the people of Israel did as Moses had instructed. They asked the Egyptians for clothing and articles of silver and gold, and the Lord caused the Egyptians to look favorably on the Israelites, and they gave the Israelites whatever they asked for. So they stripped the Egyptians of their wealth. That night, the people of Israel left. There were about 600,000 men, plus all the women and children. A rabble of non-Israelites went with them, along with the great flocks and herds of livestock. For bread, they baked the flat cakes from dough without yeast that they had brought from Egypt. It was made without yeast because the people were driven out in such a hurry that they had no time to prepare the bread or other food. The part where it talks about how, there was some rabble, like some foreigners, some non-Israelites were also able to go along with, God's chosen people, also goes to show how God always makes a way. Like, he always leaves room. He wants everyone to be saved. He always, just gives us a cheat plan. Like, even if you're not meant to be part, like, you will find your way in there. And it just comforted me. It stood out to me. Anyway, so it says that the people of Israel had lived in Egypt for 430 years. In fact, it was on the last day of the 430th year that all the Lord's forces left the land. On this night, the Lord kept his promise to bring his people out of the land of Egypt. So this night belongs to him, and it must be commemorated every year by all the Israelites from generation to generation. And it is real life. They are still commemorating this Passover day. They are still commemorating the Passover feast. Please Google it. It is real life. Like, God actually did these things. So it now says that the Lord gave them instructions for Passover, and then we go into the dedication for the firstborns. Let me move to that. This is chapter 13. It says, the Lord said to Moses, dedicate to me every firstborn among the Israelites. The first offspring to be born of both humans and animals belongs to me. So Moses said to the people, this is a day to remember forever. The day you left Egypt, the place of your slavery. Today the Lord has brought you out by the power of his mighty hand. Remember, eat no food containing yeast. On this day in early spring, in the month of Abib, you have been set free. You must celebrate this event in this month each year after the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Hivites, and Jebusites. He swore to your ancestors that he would give you this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. For 7 days, the bread you eat must be made without yeast. On the seventh day, you must explain to your children, I am celebrating what the Lord did for me when I left Egypt. This annual festival will be a visible sign to you, like a mark branded on your hand or your forehead. Let it remind you always to recite this teaching of the Lord. With a strong hand, the Lord rescued you from Egypt. So observe the decree of this festival at the appointed time each year. Now, this is something that also stands out to me a lot when you notice the Jewish community. From a young age, like toddlers, you see them dressing, like they have a special dressing. You see the little kids on their way to school, they are dressed in their Jewish dressing. And it's obvious that they don't play with the next generation. They are so intentional about actually passing down these instructions, passing down the message, passing down the teachings to the next generation. And I feel like that's something that we play with as Christians, because of course we go to church, but I feel like children's church, I was just chilling. Like, I didn't really know what was really going on in children's church. And I don't know, I don't know, I don't have kids yet, so I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like we could do more to actually share the story of salvation with our kids, instead of just making children's church a place of fun and games and food. And that is something I love about the Harvesters Church. I vlogged it. If you enter the children's church, it actually has the Bible story drawn out for the kids, and different classes are named different things, and there's Bible passages on the walls. I feel like I love that kind of Bible-based children's church that's actually encouraging the children to understand that, see, this faith thing is not a joke, it's not all fun and games, it's real life. And I just love that, and I think it's something that we should intentionally think about when we are thinking of raising the next generation, when we are thinking of having children. Okay, moving on. It says, in the future, your children will ask you, what does all this mean? Then you will tell them, with the power of his mighty hand, the Lord brought us out of Egypt, the place of our slavery. Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, so the Lord killed all the firstborn males throughout the land of Egypt, both people and animals. And this is why I now sacrifice all the firstborn males to the Lord, except that the firstborn sons are always brought back. This ceremony will be like a mark branded on your hand or your forehead. It is a reminder that the power of the Lord's mighty hand brought us out of Egypt. When Pharaoh finally let the people go, God did not lead them along the main road that runs through Philistine territory. Even though that was the shortest route to the promised land, God said, if the people are faced with a battle, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. So God led them in a roundabout way through the wilderness toward the Red Sea. Thus the Israelites left Egypt like an army ready for battle. I was so encouraged about that word, about the detour that they faced on their way to the promised land. And, I've been sharing with you guys that God has been speaking to me a lot about trusting him. He's just been leading me to the Psalms, different words that, are reminding me about the importance of not only taking matters into my own hands, but also not trusting in man and in man-made effort or, human intervention. Like, God wants me to lean on him fully in this season. And, I must admit that I got to a place where I was feeling very entitled, because I felt like, God, I've been serving you so steadily, so like committedly. It's like almost 2 years now. And I'm like, God, there has not really been any dramatic change in my life. Or like, is my next level not meant to be here by now? Like, I should be married with kids. I should be blown. Like, I should be that girl. Like, and I felt like, I was getting so entitled and I wanted to take matters into my own hands. I was just scheming in my mind. It's not like it was something I was talking to him about. But of course, God knows my thoughts. He knows my heart. And he was talking to me about, girl, trust me, don't take matters into your hand, just trust me. And I feel like this word, it just brought me back to like the detour. Like, maybe he knows that if he just gives me everything I want and everything I feel he has promised me, everything I feel that I'm entitled to so quickly, I might relent, I might relax, I might fall back into my old patterns. And so maybe that is why I'm on this detour. And if you're in that phase as well, be encouraged, because we see it in the word that there is like value in the detour. There is something that comes out of the detour, that the shortcuts you can never get from it. So moving on, it says that Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for Joseph made the sons of Israel swear to do this. He said, God will certainly come to help you, and when he does, you must take my bones with you from this place. I love that, like the prophetic inclination that Joseph had. And to me, that was also personally speaking to me, because I told you guys last week that I was also studying the story of Joseph. Like, and to me, it was just like God's plan. Like, who could have even known? How did Joseph know that the people were going to move when he was even the one that brought them into Egypt? Like, you guys, when you're reading the Bible and when you're actually like intentional, when you check in with God every day, trust me, it will blow your mind how he just pieces things together. Like, because I was studying Joseph last week, like this story even has much more value to me because I'm understanding it. And y'all know I just randomly just be opening the Bible, and when he speaks to me like that, it is just beautiful. I've not even shared the best part with you, so keep watching. If you're here, keep watching. So the Israelites left and camped at Etham on the edge of the wilderness. The Lord went ahead of them. He guided them during the day with a pillar of cloud, and he provided light at night with a pillar of fire. This allowed them to travel by day or by night, and the Lord did not remove the pillar of cloud or the pillar of fire from its place in front of the people. God is always with us, and he will get you there. Then the Lord gave these instructions to Moses: order the Israelites to turn back and camp by Pi-hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea. Camp there along the shore across from Baal-zephon. Then Pharaoh will think the Israelites are confused. They are trapped in the wilderness. And once again, I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will chase after you. I have planned this in order to display my glory through Pharaoh and his whole army. After this, the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord. So the Israelites camped there as they were told. When word reached the king of Egypt that the Israelites had fled, Pharaoh and his officials changed their mind. What have we done, letting all those Israelite slaves get away? They asked. So Pharaoh harnessed his chariot and called up his troops. He took with him 600 of Egypt's best chariots, along with the rest of the chariots of Egypt, each with its commander. The Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, so he chased after the people of Israel. As Pharaoh approached, the people of Israel looked up and panicked when they saw that the Egyptians were overtaking them. The devil will be trying it. He'll want to make you afraid, but just keep reading. They cried out to the Lord, and they said to Moses, "Why did you bring us out here to die in the wilderness? Weren't there enough graves for us in Egypt? What have you done to us? Why did you make us leave Egypt? Didn't we tell you that this would happen while we were still in Egypt? We said, 'Leave us alone. Let us be slaves to the Egyptians.' It is better to be a slave in Egypt than a corpse in the wilderness." And oh my God, how sad is that, and how relatable is that as well? Like, we are so afraid of change. We are so afraid of actually trusting God, actually believing that he will say what he will do what he said he would do. Like, he will actually take care of us. We are so afraid of the promise that we will rather stay in bondage. We will rather settle for less than we know that we are entitled to. We would rather settle for less than God's best. And I was just like, God, help me, help my unbelief when I read that part, because the guy has not even reached them. He's just approaching. They're already cursing Moses that, "What did you do? Why did you bring us out?" And of course, we don't even get into the story of them in the wilderness, but we see so much more how fear kept crippling them and unbelief. Anyways, but Moses told the people, "Oh, this part for me. This part for me." I need to even read it in another translation. But this NLT, it says, "But Moses told the people, 'Don't be afraid. Just stand still and watch the Lord rescue you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never be seen again. The Lord himself will fight for you. Just stay calm." That word is my word personally. I received a prophetic word in 2021, when I was January 2021, no, January 2022, when I was just, etching my way out of my toxic relationship. And God sent me this word. I attended a fellowship. One lady just came up to me that, "Oh, God wants to tell you that the Egyptians you see today, you will see them no more." And I clung onto that word like for dear life. I was not going back into bondage. I was moving out, even if I was going to be in the wilderness. Hey, I lost connection. I hope you guys can still hear me and see me. Please leave me a comment or a thumbs up if you can. I hope we are online. Okay, I just saw. Okay, thank you, Coral. Okay, so the translation that she sent me, why did this thing change now? Was actually NIV. She said, "Moses answered the people, 'Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring to you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again.'" That was the part she told me. "The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You only need to be still." Now, this NLT says, "Stay calm." So if I was not aware of that second translation, it would not have hit me the way it did. Because your girl just started a new journal today. And what does my journal say? Be still. Obviously, it's quoting "be still" from Psalm 46:10. "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth." But what are the odds? Like, this is real life. I can't make this thing up. Like, I wish I could put a camera on me. Like, because what are the odds that I'm starting this journal today and God is leading me to this same word today that is reminding me of that same word that I got in 2022 that I held on to actually leave bondage. And, I've been dealing with entitlement. I've just been dealing with frustration. I've been feeling like, God, like, does it not really pay to serve you? Like, let there be a shift now. Like, where is the testimony? And The guy is just telling me, be still. He has completed the first part of, okay, the Egyptians I see today, I will see them no more. That one is gone. Now, what is next? The Lord himself will fight for you. Just stay calm. Don't take matters into your own hands. If you're watching me, don't take matters into your own hands. Just stay calm. Just be still. Just wait on God. Like, the temptation to take matters into your own hands. And today, and as if this was not enough. Hope you guys are online because I'm charged up. As if this was not enough, today, you guys know that I do a Bible study for Kingdom Wives every Thursday. So today we were studying Hannah and Peninnah, the wives of Elkanah. Hannah was the mother of Samuel. You know her story when it comes to her being a mother, how she prayed for her child and all. But studying her as a wife helped me understand, what are the traits that she exhibited as a kingdom wife. And the number one thing that we could all agree on was her level of faith. It says that Peninnah was taunting Hannah. Last week we studied Rachel and Leah, and them, they were fighting themselves. Like, okay, Leah would taunt Rachel. Rachel would now go and give her maid to Jacob. Rachel would go and give her maid to Jacob. This one would say, give me your mandrakes. They were just catty. They were fighting themselves. They were taking matters into their own hands. You never hear one single response that Hannah gives to Peninnah. What did she do? She went and prayed. She exercised her faith. She did not take matters into her own hands. She could have easily said, oh, have a baby with my maid servant so that me, if I can have a child, so that I'll stop the taunting that this woman is taunting me. No. She went and prayed to the Lord of heaven's armies. And I feel like, there is value in trusting God. Like, it is real life value in trusting God. There is real life value in not taking matters into your own hands. And I am somebody that has struggled with impatience. I'm somebody that has struggled with taking matters into their own hands. In fact, even somehow related, but not really directly related, I was studying, when I was studying this book of like Samuel and the story of Hannah and Peninnah, the teacher was explaining how like a lot of us think that like happiness is our entitlement. And so for us to be happy, we're not going to pray, oh God, give me joy, which obviously we know joy is not affected by circumstances. Happiness is like, oh, I'm constantly on this high. For us to be happy, we go and take like drugs or just do things that gratify our flesh just to fill up that void, just so that we can feel that feeling that we feel we so desperately need. And it convicted me because I'm like, wow, like even my addiction was a what they call it, manifestation of my impatience. Like, because I could not wait to just sort through my feelings, I'd rather just be high so that I don't even have to deal with what's going on. Let me just chill, let me just relax. And it's just like, it was still showing my lack of trust in God at that point in time. And maybe that is why when I really said, okay, this guy saved me from an accident, so clearly he's invested and interested in my life, let me hand over things to him, let me start trusting him, he was able to deliver me from that substance abuse. Like, God is good. I don't know. I can't piece together all the things I'm piecing together like in my own mind, but you guys read the Bible for yourself. You need a Bible study habit. And aside from reading the Bible, go online, go on YouTube. That was what I was even thanking God. I'm like, maybe the early Christians and the early believers, they did not fully understand, like they didn't have the resources that we had. Like maybe they could not see that these things were real. Like even the Bible teaching I was reading about this journey, it was showing the map like of Egypt and then the Red Sea and then the land to Canaan and all, like, and I'm like, wow, there's actually a real map about this thing. Like it's real life. Like we have the resources to actually show that this thing is real. We're almost at 30 minutes. Let me keep going. I'm so sorry, but God really spoke to me today. Like I was thoroughly blessed today. Like, and I pray that y'all are blessed by this word. And please just read it by yourself. Like read the Bible every day by yourself. You will see what God will just be revealing to you. Anyways, so the Lord now said to Moses, why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to get moving. Pick up your staff and raise your hand over the sea. Divide the water so the Israelites can walk through the middle of the sea on dry ground. And I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they will charge in after the Israelites. My great glory will be displayed through Pharaoh and his troops, his chariots and his charioteers. When my glory is displayed through them, all Egypt will see my glory and know that I am the Lord. You are the Lord, that is your name. You never share your glory with any man. That song kept popping in my mind, and I'm like, that's part of the value of trusting God. Like the amount of times God referenced his glory in this passage, it's like he does not want to share his glory with anybody. So if you try and do it your way, it will not work out the way that he has promised or the way that he has planned, because you're trying to take the glory. You're trying to actually take the credit when all the glory and the credit belongs to him. Then the angel of God, who had been leading the people of Israel, moved to the rear of the camp. The pillar of cloud also moved from the front and stood behind them. The cloud settled between the Egyptian and Israelite camps, and as darkness fell, the cloud turned to fire, lighting up the night. But the Egyptians and Israelites did not approach each other all night. Then Moses raised his hand over the sea, and the Lord opened up a path through the water with a strong east wind. The wind blew all that night, turning the seabed into dry land. So the people of Israel walked through the middle of the sea on dry ground, with walls of water on each side. Then the Egyptians, all of Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and charioteers, chased them into the middle of the sea. But just before dawn, the Lord looked down on the Egyptian army from the pillar of fire and cloud, and he threw their forces into total confusion. He twisted their chariot wheels, making their chariots difficult to drive. Let's get out of here, away from the Israelites, the Egyptians shouted. The Lord is fighting for them against Egypt. And the Lord that they called God, like you can see, is the capital, the Lord. When you actually listen to Bible studies, it helps you understand that that name that they called it was not just regular the Lord, like when it's small letter the Lord. Like the Lord was like God's Hebrew name, like that they were recognizing that, oh, this is like the true God is fighting for them. So when the Israelites reached the other side, the Lord said to Moses, raise your hand over the sea again, that the waters will rush back and cover the Egyptians and their chariots and charioteers. So as the sun began to rise, Moses raised his hand over the sea, and the water rushed back into its usual place. The Egyptians tried to escape, but the Lord swept them into the sea. Then the waters returned and covered all the chariots and charioteers, the entire army of Pharaoh. Of all the Egyptians who had chased the Israelites into the sea, not a single one survived. And so the Lord did keep his word, that the Egyptians that they saw, they would never see again, because they all died. And when the people of Israel saw the mighty power that the Lord had unleashed against the Egyptians, they were filled with awe before him. They put their faith in the Lord and in his servant Moses. And of course, I have to read another translation for you, which says in NIV as well, and when the Israelites saw the mighty hand of the Lord displayed against the Egyptians, the people feared the Lord and put their trust in him and in his servant Moses. Man, that is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. You know, God is really telling us about trusting him in this season. Like, and if you're like me and you're battling with entitlement and just like not feeling like enough is happening, or you're not feeling like you're seeing the hand of God moving, like, you know, you've witnessed the plagues, you've seen all the drama, and now you want more. Like, it's like, just trust God, like, because what he says he will do, he will come through for you, and you are so secure in him. Like, you can't protect yourself. There's this song, Na Your Hand by Yada, that has been blessing me. I hope I pronounced that right. I just discovered it. Yes, it is Na Your Hand by Yada. Please check it out if you can. And Wonder by Mercy Chinwo. All right, I love you, fam. I will see you tomorrow. Pray you are blessed by the Lord. Thank you for staying tuned for 33 minutes. This was longer than normal. But yeah, I love you. Jesus loves you the most. Good night.